We made it, and I mean just barely. You should see some of the shenanigans that go on before the show goes on the air, because this is a live television program, so we're working without a net here, and about 45 seconds ago, I realized I didn't have my little clock that tells me what time it is as we progress through this lovely television program. But I made it. I sprinted all the way back to my desk, got all the way back here with about 5 seconds to spare. So now we're ready to do a show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's the 18th day of June, 2019. Wake Up Wenatchee Valley is on the air. Again, just barely. I'm Dan Kuntz, your host, on a sunny, mild, and windy Tuesday morning. We have a red flag alert. It goes into effect later on this afternoon at 2 o'clock, goes all the way through Wednesday. It's going to be windy today all the way through Thursday. Red flag warning is not what you want to see, of course. That's the combination of warm temperatures, low relative humidity, and strong winds. But the big story is really going to be the wind. It's going to be very windy over the next 2 or 3 days. Good time to go fly a kite. In fact, somebody yesterday, one of my coworkers, told me I should probably just go fly a kite. I didn't, though. That weather forecast is coming up. Hopefully we won't have any kind of fires getting going, because they could just take right off. And the red flag warning is for a big swath of north central Washington, not just the Wenatchee Valley. We got some graphics to show you when we get to the weather forecast. Also, your latest Tuesday morning news. We got a lot of local sports to get to. Surprisingly busy day at the sports desk yesterday. Yes, we have a sports desk. It's called Eric's Desk. We also have the obscure holiday, today in history, birthdays. Everyone is entitled to Mike McNaughty's opinion. And this Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, months and months of work will finally culminate in the airing of Saving Rae'Ana. You know the story of Rae'Ana Rosenberg, who back on February 21st fell into an icy pond in the Rock Island area, was in the water for about 20 minutes. She was pulled out by search and rescue teams, transported to Central Washington Hospital, and then eventually to Children's Hospital in Seattle. She spent 60 some odd days in the hospital. She survived miraculously. We were able to capture the footage of the rescue on our high-definition PTZ camera located in Rock Island, and with that footage, and we took that footage and we put together a really good documentary. You're going to love it. It's probably the best thing we've ever done. Kaitlin Hetterscheidt and her team, Tucker Wagner, Uriah Darby, and Cal FitzSimmons, put this show together. It's going to debut on this very television station again Thursday at 7 o'clock, and we're going to preview that and show you a couple of clips when my conversation with Kaitlin Hetterscheidt, the content producer who is in charge of this project, and Cal FitzSimmons, who's been one of the guiding forces of it. They sat down with me yesterday in the Studio 2, and we talked about Saving Rae'Ana, the show that will debut on Thursday. That conversation is one you do not want to miss. That will be in the second half of the program. It is just about 4 minutes after they are. Let's take you around north central Washington with our cameras, our high-definition PTZ cameras. These are tools, not toys. Well, we play with them occasionally. Beautiful view of the Wenatchee Valley. It's amazing that that camera up at the cross is actually not moving around a little bit. That thing is really anchored down. It's on a tower, and of course they got guy wires, because usually when we have breezy conditions, as we do this morning, we have a wind, west wind about 12 miles an hour. Those cameras move around a little bit, but that's not the case with that camera, our primary camera. It's a 4K camera, and it really works out well with all kinds of different news items that may be happening. We can hop on this camera and zoom it around and move it in and out and up and down. It's pretty cool to have, no doubt about that. Camera 2. Where are we off to, Megan? Megan gets to decide. This is her part of the show to shine, and she says Omi Gardens is a good place to visit. And that really looks out, boy, look how browned out that is now. Wow. It wasn't that long ago. It was pretty darn green, but that's the, when you have a lot of sunshine, warm temperatures, and breezy conditions, it just dries the grasses and the bushes and the sage right on out. So this is why we're really keeping a very close eye on this red flag warning, which starts at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we can get through these next couple of days without anything happening in the world of wildfires. But a beautiful view, isn't it? Isn't that just gorgeous? And you can actually see the cross on the other side of the valley. Camera 3. Megan says, let's pay a visit to Monument Hill in Quincy. Is that correct? Thank you very much. Now that looks considerably greener, doesn't it? Beautiful Quincy. Look at that. It's just gorgeous view up there. And Monument Hill, people have asked, where is Monument Hill? Well, when you go out to Quincy, just look pretty much dead north and just look for the highest peak, and that is Monument Hill. It has a lot of towers and repeaters and transmitters and what have you. And, of course, that dish and that camera, courtesy of Localtel's Sky-Fi network. And that is just an incredible view. You can just see forever there because it's Quincy. It's the Columbia Basin. Not a lot of mountains there. Camera number 4. Let's say good morning to Lake Chelan, and I want to say that is the Bear Mountain camera. Yay, Bear Mountain camera. I was 4 for 4. That doesn't happen very often. Beautiful view there. Beautiful golf course, by the way, Bear Mountain. I just love it. Great view of Lake Chelan. Last I checked last week, just about this time, the lake was about 1.5 feet from being all the way full. It probably is now all the way full at this point. I don't know for sure, but what a gorgeous view that is. As you work your way up towards Stehekin. I've been to Stehekin in about 15 years. I got to go back up there again. It's one of the most beautiful. We live in a beautiful area, but Stehekin is a beautiful area in and of itself. It's hard to get there, but it's sure worth the trip. I can tell you that. So that's our view from around north central Washington with our cameras. We got about 75 of them. Towers anyway. We got about 40 cameras with more coming. Trust me on that. 7 minutes after the hour from the National Weather Service. Here's that all-important forecast. Again, the story is really going to be the wind. What's going on? The jet stream is positioned directly over Washington, so that's feeding us a bunch of wind. And there's a low pressure system that's dropping down from Canada. That's going to come down tomorrow and tomorrow night, and those two combinations means very strong winds, consistent winds. We can see gusts tomorrow of up to 45 miles an hour, and that's in the Wenatchee Valley. You get to some of those exposed ridges, like Wenatchee Heights, places like that. Even stronger than 45 miles an hour. We do have a red flag warning. I have a slide to show you from the National Weather Service to let you know what to expect and where you live. It's pretty much for everybody. There you go. You see that deep pink. That's your red flag warning. And then there's a fire weather watch for tomorrow for the rest of eastern Washington. But the red flag warning is for us, and it starts at 2 o'clock this afternoon, goes all the way till 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Wind, low relative humidity, and that's not good. Relative humidity is going to be about 17 to 25%. That's pretty darn low. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, west winds gusting at times at 35 miles an hour later on this afternoon. The strongest winds with the combination of that jet stream and the low pressure, that super tight gradient, which gives us very strong winds, gusts up to 45 miles an hour possible on Wednesday. So keep a very close eye out. Again, we don't want anything to get going, but very consistent winds really all day today. We'll be right around 15 to 22 miles an hour. It's going to stay right about 15 to 22 miles an hour tonight. Again, this is all west wind blowing west to east. It's going to be windy on Wednesday, very strong winds on Wednesday night all the way into Thursday. We could see gusts near 30 miles an hour on Thursday before this finally peters out and we settle into a very pleasant weekend, but we got to get through the wind first. Sunrise this morning at 5:03, sunset 9 o'clock tonight. That gives us 15 hours and 57 minutes of daylight. Sunset tomorrow will be at 9:01. Of course, the summer solstice is Friday morning at 8:54. Friday morning at 8:54, we'll have the longest day of the year on Friday. And actually, about the next 7 to 10 days after the summer solstice, the sunrise and the sunset really doesn't move that much, but summer is almost here. From a temperature standpoint, it's kind of been here for a few weeks, wouldn't you say? We're going to take a break at 9 minutes after the hour, and when we come back, we got the news. But before we take that break, we want to thank our friends at Confluence Health for sponsoring Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Confluence Health dedicated to providing safe, quality health care for everybody in north central Washington. Grab your bagel, grab your pancake, grab your orange juice, grab your whatever it is, and come back and join me. The news is 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley live this morning from Studio 5 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Live channel.
When the people you serve are your friends and family, you see the world a bit differently. You understand that your survival depends on the health and strength of your relationships. Your word is your reputation, and that doing the right thing is the only way of life that matters. At Confluence Health, we remain humble. Trust is a gift that is earned, a privilege, an honor. And we remain grateful for the trust you place in our hands.
Lake Chelan Mailboxes is a small place with a lot to offer. Job one is shipping and receiving from A to Z. They pack it, they label it, they ship it. But did you know we also offer notary service, online computer access, legal forms, copies, greeting cards, and of course mailboxes, even passport photos. Chelan Mailboxes, everything you need in one small package.
Just about 11 minutes after the hour, it is very warm. It's 70 degrees with lots of sunshine. Again, very windy all day today, tonight, Wednesday night, even into Thursday. A red flag warning begins at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and we'll go through Wednesday night at 9 o'clock with very gusty winds and very low relative humidity. Here's what's making headlines. That body found June 3rd in a burning vehicle in Okanagan County still hasn't been identified. But Okanagan County Sheriff Tony Hawley says the coroner has been able to determine the cause of that woman's death, but that will not be released while the investigation is ongoing. The body was found in the trunk of a burning vehicle on Frosty Creek Road, south of Tenasket, at about 4:30. Again, this was back on June 3rd. A man was seen leaving the area, was found about 7 o'clock that night, about 2 miles away near the Enid's General Store. After displaying a gun, the suspect was shot at by a sheriff's department deputy and a sergeant. 37-year-old Lance Bowers of Tenasket hit once in the torso. He was treated at Central Washington Hospital here in Wenatchee and then jailed. Bowers was scheduled to be arraigned yesterday, but not for the death of the woman. The officers involved have been placed on administrative leave while the North Central Washington Special Investigation Unit investigates. Edgar Reinfeld of the Wenatchee Police Department, he's the spokesperson for the investigation, said a .32 caliber revolver was recovered from the scene of the shooting. And because Bowers is a convicted felon, he faces a first-degree unlawful possession of a firearm charge in addition to 2 counts of first-degree assault. Well, that dog found shot 3 times and left for dead near the Beehive Reservoir last month continues to show improvement, but still has issues to overcome. Don Davies of the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society says 2 of the 3 bullets have been removed.
Dane is, he's not totally out of the woods, but he's certainly doing better. He did have 2 of the bullets removed from his head. That was last week. And then he went home to medical foster over the weekend, and he's, trying to be active and just really showing that he's just got a lot of strength. And however, the 3rd bullet, which was in his shoulder, looks like it's causing him some problems. So right now we have him back at the veterinarian again and looking at probably removing that 3rd bullet. Sometimes a bullet, just like with a human, sometimes it's better just to leave them there than to do invasive surgery. It's not in any vital organs or bones or anything, but it is causing him some pain and discomfort and a lot of swelling. So we're going to probably have that taken out.
The Pit Bull Terrier mix, who has been called both Louie and Kane, is also recovering from a torn ACL that Davies believes he suffered when trying to flee the shooter. Captain Edgar Reinfeld of the Wenatchee Police Department is handling the investigation. They expect to release more information on this case later on this week. Well, voters in Chelan and Douglas counties are going to be asked to approve a sales tax hike to pay for future service improvements at Link Transit. Our very own senior news correspondent Steve Hare filed this report.
Link's manager, Richard DeRock, discussed the August ballot measure at Thursday's Wenatchee Valley Transportation Council meeting. The measure calls for a 0.2% sales tax increase to fund over 30 projects over the next 6 years in Chelan and Douglas counties. The increases would be phased in, starting with the 0.1 increase next year and the additional 0.1 increase becoming effective in 2022. In his presentation, DeRock said the buses can keep operating at current levels under the existing revenue stream, but he says it cannot pay for the expanded services that were requested by the community in 2 separate surveys. DeRock says Link provides about 3,600 passenger trips, or about 1 million riders a year. The measure comes up for a vote in the August 6th primary election. The increase would impact the average household about $24 a year in additional sales taxes. Steve Hare, NCW Life News.
Thank you very much, Steve. In an effort to reduce fuels and limit the spread of wildfires, Chelan County Fire District Number 1 is going to let around 300 goats loose on the hillsides behind the Broadview development in the far western side of Wenatchee. This is going to happen at the end of the month. Fire Chief Brian Brett says the goats will be allowed to chew away sections of hillside vegetation to help reduce fire fuels. 28 homes, of course, were destroyed 4 years ago in the Broadview neighborhood during the Sleepy Hollow fire. Well, the last day of school was last Friday for kids in the Wenatchee School District. It was also the last day for Brian Flonus, the outgoing superintendent. His career came to an end with his retirement last Friday. Here's a tribute video that was created by the Wenatchee Valley Technical Skills Center. The student was Seth Gamble, and he made this video while he was employed at Digital Media Northwest. Yeah, best of luck to Brian in his upcoming retirement. Break out the golf clubs. See if you can get your handicap way down there. Speaking of golf handicaps, Grant Olson's handicap, by the way, is a 3.2. The guy's a tremendous golfer. He also does the news at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock when he's not three-putting. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. The news, Grant Olson in the anchor chair. He also handles the weather forecast. He's going to be a busy guy with this very windy conditions and that red flag warning. He'll explain how all of this stuff is developing when he does the weather. And, of course, the news at 5, 6, and 10. Eric Granstrom in the sports chair. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, the evening news right here on the NCW Live channel. It's also available for you to watch whenever you darn well please on demand by going to our website at ncwlife.com. We'll have the news up and running right around 5 o'clock. So if you prefer to consume your news on your home computer or your tablet or your smartphone or whatever, you could do it. You don't have to plug in the TV. I guess that makes sense. But it is available on TV, or as we like to say in the business, television, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. At the bottom of your screen is all the different ways you can get a hold of us, including our website, including our Facebook page. We have a Twitter handle. We have a telephone. We have an address, 201 South Chelan, if you want to write us a letter. People need to write more letters. Or you can email us, news@ncwlife.com. It's 20 minutes after the hour. Sports! The Mariners, the bullpen. We got a problem. Sports is 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
I found a doctor that I just really, really like, and his name is Nick Collins. I just like everything about him. He's very thorough, but he's not intrusive at all, so he goes ahead and checks out things that somebody else might just let it go. Just about everything about him.
SkillSource specializes in assessing and guiding youth, adults, and laid-off workers who want to improve their skills. Here you can attend in-depth workshops to assess skills and interests, make career plans, and learn computer basics.
Learning centers provide eligible youth and adults individualized computer-assisted basic education. Vocational training is arranged with approved providers like community colleges or on the job with businesses.
Don't wait any longer. Let's get working on the future you've been dreaming about.
Welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday. Let's do sports. Wenatchee High School graduate and former athletic director B.J. Kuntz has been hired by the WIAA as its assistant director. Kuntz will replace John Miller, who is retiring for the position after 11 years with the WIAA. Kuntz has gained a wealth of experience from her time at Wenatchee, where she has served in multiple roles. Since 1996, she was the Dean of Students at Wenatchee High School. She was named that in 2014 after 12 years of the athletic director experience for the Wenatchee School District. She held that position from 2002 to 2014. Kuntz is familiar with the WIAA in a number of capacities. She serves as the District 6 director and has been since 2015. She's managing the operations and finances for District 6. Sports Director Eric Granstrom will have much more with BJ for the news tonight at 5, 6, and 10. And a familiar name has reemerged from the baseball world locally. Former Wenatchee Valley College baseball coach Darren Hoff coming back to town. He's been hired as the new varsity coach at Eastmont High School. In a press release yesterday, Eastmont Athletic Director Russ Waterman announced that Hoff will be replacing Brandon Schmitten as the Wildcats baseball coach. Hoff coached the Knights program from 1995 to 2000. Most recently, he was the baseball coach at Walnut High School in California from 2000 to 2012. Well, for the 14th time this season, Seattle's bullpen couldn't hold the lead. Kansas City scored a run in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, and they came from behind to beat the Mariners last night. The final was 6-4. This time it was Anthony Bass who gave up the lead in the game by allowing a 2-run home run in the 8th by George Soler. The 14 blown saves is second worst in Major League Baseball. Only the Mets have blown more saves. They've blown 16 so far this year. The missed opportunity spoiled a good night of pitching by Tommy Malone, the former Apple Sox. He went 6 1/3. He allowed 1 run, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. Manager Scott Service says it's disappointing to give up a game like that.
You know, we had a lot of chances to put more runs up than the 4 we got tonight. You know, had a lot of traffic out there, getting that big hit to kind of, get us back in the ball game there in the 8th and 9th. But yeah, it's you look at the ball game and Tommy Malone threw the ball really well. You come out of 7 innings and you got 3 runs given up. We have a lead. You think you're in pretty good shape. We just didn't finish it off tonight. So executing pitches has been an issue, certainly with our relievers and getting ahead in the count. But then you got to finish them. You got to put them away, and we just haven't been able to do that.
Tom Murphy looks good though. He continues to deliver as Seattle's backup catcher. He went 2 for 4 at the plate with a 3-run home run. Those two teams play again tonight at 7:10. UC Kikuchi gets the nod for the Mariners. Homer Bailey will start for the Royals. Good seats still available. To the American League West last night, here's your Les Schwab scoreboard. Mike Trout hit one of LA's 4 home runs. He went 4 for 5 at the plate with 3 RBIs. Mike Trout, by the way, is a really good baseball player. The Angels beat Toronto 10-5. Louis Castillo overcame 6 walks and a 52-minute rain delay with 7 strikeouts and 6 innings of work to lead Cincinnati over Houston 3-2. Danny Santana went 2 for 4 with a 2-run home run in Texas's 7-2 win over Cleveland. Lance Lynn was also dominant on the mound for the Rangers. He went 7 innings. He allowed 1 run, 6 hits, and 9 strikeouts. And Mike Fiers won his 7th game of the season, 6 2/3 innings, gave up a couple of runs on 3 hits. Oakland got past Baltimore. Well, everybody beats Baltimore nowadays. The final was 3-2. The Wenatchee Apple Sox going to try and make it 2 wins in a row. They head to Port Angeles tonight to take on the Lefties. Wenatchee's coming off a thrilling come-from-behind victory over Walla Walla on Sunday handing the Sweets their first loss of the season. First pitch tonight, 6:35. You can hear the game locally on Sunny FM with Joel Norman on the play-by-play. Pretty light scheduled in the West Coast League. On Monday, Tanner Parker went 2 for 5 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Yakima Valley beats Kelowna 6-4, and Chase Wensnizer's 2-run home run of the 7th was the difference. Victoria Top Bend 5-3, and those are just some of the games that people are playing on this Tuesday. It's 26 minutes after the hour. The obscure holiday of the day today, it's National Go Fishing Day. Boy, doesn't that look like fun. Every June 18th. So you just take the day off, you head to your local stream or pond or river or lake, or in that case, ocean, and bait your hook, do a little casting, and maybe catch a fish or two. Go out and do a little angling. Recreational angling goes back, we don't know how long, forever. As soon as people realized they could catch fish and eat it, that was pretty much the way to do it. In fact, the earliest known essay on fishing goes all the way back to 1496. So, yeah, I used to really be into angling. I don't fish nearly as much as I used to. There's a big difference between fishing and catching fish. I learned that a long time ago. So how do you observe National Go Fishing Day? You go fish. It's as simple as that. Don't forget, you need a license. So don't be fishing illegally. You don't want to be doing that. Go fish today. It is 27 minutes after the hour. Today in history. 207 years ago today, the United States declared war on Great Britain. There it is. James Madison signed the Declaration of War, and the War of 1812 officially began on this date, June 18th, 1812. I've read up on the War of 1812. One of the most interesting wars in American history. It lasted for 3 years, and nothing really changed. A bunch of young men were killed. That's about it. As far as real estate, which is normally the be-all, end-all in wars, is we want more real estate, and we're going to take it from people who have it. Didn't happen in the War of 1812. When it was all said and done and the Treaty of Ghent was signed, everything was exactly as it was 3 years before. Anyway, it started on this date, 207 years ago. Speaking of wars, 204 years ago today, June 18th, 1815, Napoleon met his Waterloo, literally and figuratively, the Battle of Waterloo. The results, of course, in the defeat of Napoleon Bonaparte. He was trying to come back, didn't work. He was forced to abdicate the French throne for the second and last time, and that was it for Napoleon. It all came to an end 204 years ago today, June 18th, 1815. And happy birthday to the album, the LP, my favorite form of musical entertainment. My favorite music delivery system is the album. It was June 18th, 1948, 71 years ago today, at a special gathering at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. Columbia Records introduced the long playing record album. It was invented by an engineer at Columbia Records. His name was Peter Goldmark. He came up with the LP. They've been working with it for a while, but they couldn't really get it figured out until Peter Goldmark sunk his teeth into it. Because he worked for Columbia Records, his employment agreement was simply that he didn't get the patent. Columbia Records got the patent for the invention of the LP, but they liked Peter's invention so much they said, Peter, even though you don't get to keep any of the royalties of the patent, we're going to give you one free copy of every LP that we make as long as you work for Columbia Records, which isn't bad. Before the invention of the LP, by the way, the most music that could fit on one side of a record, a 78 RPM record, was 3 minutes. With the invention of and the perfection of the LP, you could fit 23 minutes of music on one side of a record, and it changed the way everybody approached the music. They could actually make albums as an art form instead of just a bunch of individual songs. The LP is 71 years old today. And speaking of LPs, one celebrity birthday. You may have heard of him. He's probably one of the half dozen that's the red flag warning. Did I mention we have a red flag warning? There he is. Probably one of the 20 most famous people on the planet. Sir James Paul McCartney is 77 years old today. Two-time inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist in 1999 and as a member of a British group from Liverpool whose name escapes me. Paul McCartney wrote or co-wrote 32 songs that went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That record will never, ever be broken. And by the way, he's also the richest musician of all time. His estimated net worth is $1.3 billion. Paul has done all right for himself. Happy 77th, Paul McCartney. It's the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break. When we come back, it's a brand new Mike Magnotti opinion. You've never seen it before. You'll enjoy it. You'll get something out of it. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back in my conversation with Kaitlin Hetterscheidt and Cal FitzSimmons, Saving Rae'Ana. A documentary will air commercial-free Thursday night at 7 o'clock on this very television station. You've heard about it. A lot of people have been talking about it. You'll finally get to see it. We'll take you behind the scenes on how this documentary was put together with Kat and Cal. When we come back, you're watching Wake Up in Angie Valley on the NCW Life channel.
If you want to work in healthcare, choose the program that teaches the skills employers want. The Charter College Medical Assistant Program combines hands-on learning in the lab with convenient online learning, plus real-life experience with an externship. Classes start every 5 weeks, so you don't have to wait to launch your new career. Enroll with confidence, knowing Charter is institutionally accredited by the Accrediting Bureau of Health Education Schools, and be ready to work in less than a year. Charter College. We work to get you to work.
Moving doesn't have to be back-breaking, stressful work. And I don't want you to make a move that way ever again.
Traditionally, you would rent a truck. You would load up your stuff. You would rent a storage unit. You would transport it. And finally, you would unload your stuff yourself. You don't have to lift a finger. We bring the mobile storage unit to you. We drop it off. Then one of our trusted packers can load it for you. We come pick it up and store it securely for you. We bring it back to you. No hassle, no stress.
Welcome to Boswell's Home Furnishings. Come in and explore their expansive 2-story showroom at your leisure. You'll find comfort and inspiration for every room in your home. Boswell's has been filling customer furniture needs for decades, from contemporary to the classics, for living room, dining room, and bedroom sets. Purchase in-store or create your own unique style. With Boswell's complimentary design service, your vision is their passion. Where would you like to start?
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills in Manson. Remember the good old days? Sunday supper at Grandma's and the best recipes being passed down through generations? Well, come on out to Blueberry Hills and find amazing food with huge portions at family-friendly prices. From Benedict's to burgers to fresh fruit pies, there is something for everyone. Don't miss Blueberry Hills, where you pick, you sit, you eat, and you visit. wildaboutberries.com.
I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service-oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
The Pirates are coming! The Pirates are coming to Lake Chelan on the 4th of July for our 3rd annual 4th of July Pirate Fun Run along the water. The fun run is either a 2K for the beginners or a 4K for those die-hard pirates. Participants get a free pirate t-shirt, and if you finish, you'll get a pirate medal. So go online for information at LakeChelanPirateFest.com. Get on board! A pirate's life for you at Lake Chelan.
This is Mad Dog McNally, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, if there's another school shooting in this country, the blame in part is going to fall at the feet of those people who've been crying for more governmental legislation and more restrictive gun laws. Now, maybe these things will help, maybe, but they're only going to help in the future. The only thing that has the hope of stopping whoever is out there right now who already has the guns to use is restricted access to schools with metal detectors and trained armed professionals on scene. And I'm sorry, that's true. Now, of course, this is totally unacceptable to those who say more guns won't solve the problem. Well, This attitude of being unwilling to recognize that nothing the government is going to do tomorrow is going to stop a school shooting today, they're going to be part of the blame for, God forbid, another school shooting. It's not a matter of more guns. The guns are already there, and that's the reality. And this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
Only one dealership in Wenatchee has Motor Trend's SUV of the Year and Truck of the Year. That's right, Town Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram has the all-new Jeep Wrangler and the all-new Ram 1500 pickup. Or get the best of both worlds in the new Jeep Gladiator. Visit Town Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram today for more information on these award winners and see why there's no reason to leave town to buy your next vehicle.
If you're stuck trying to find the perfect beer for you, look no further than Badger Mountain Brewing. We specialize in creating tantalizing craft beers that will soothe any picky taste buds and will satisfy your cravings. Check out everything from our amazing Honey Blonde that will appease even the most finicky taster, or a delicious frothy stout for dark beer lovers. Experience them all at Badger Mountain Brewing.
It's estimated that 1/3 of Americans do not have a financial plan. At D.A. Davidson, their advisors are working to change that because they understand the importance of planning for the future. At D.A. Davidson, they believe in partnering together to build a strategy tailored to your needs. They spend the time and have the knowledge to help keep your financial future on track. Let D.A. Davidson Financial Advisors of Wenatchee put the strength of advice to work for you.
Welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz, your host. Each and every morning on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, we begin our program with our little tour around the Wenatchee Valley in north central Washington with our high-definition PTZ cameras. There are many of them all over the valley and all over north central Washington. And we use them as a news gathering tool for wildfires, traffic accidents, whatever the case may be. But on Thursday morning, February 21st of this year, we had no idea when the call first came over on, first of all, to Rivercom, and then, of course, over the scanners, that what was going on in Rock Island would bring our news gathering team to an entirely different level. We're talking, of course, about Rae'Ana Rosenberg, the 6-year-old girl who fell into that icy pond and was miraculously saved by some outstanding people you're going to meet on Thursday night at 7 o'clock with this special 1-hour show that we've never aired before, commercial-free, courtesy of our sponsors. The show is called Saving Rae'Ana, and the two people responsible for this program couldn't make it. So I'm kidding. The lady to my immediate left is Kaitlin Hetterscheidt, who used to produce this program, of course, and to my far left is our news director, Cal FitzSimmons, and after months and months of work, we're almost ready. Are you ready?
No.
First question for you, Kaitlin. We know because we worked with Kaitlin throughout the course of this process. Again, this happened back on February 21st, and the debut of Saving Rae'Ana is Thursday night at 7 o'clock on this very television station. How many hours have you put into this project?
Quite a bit. I think it was almost about a month ago when we had our first meetings about producing a special on this incident, and then from there we kind of got started with interviewing, and probably the last 3 or 4 weeks I've been working every day on it. So, yeah.
Cal, let's go back to February 21st. It was the middle of the morning. It was another day for us here, gathering news, disseminating news. The call came over. We all went over to Tucker's screen. He brought up the PTZ camera. And then what?
And then what we watched was a very horrifying story unfold before our eyes. At the time it was horrifying because we didn't know the fate of the little girl. We saw a very brave crew of people rescue that girl from that pond, and we knew that that footage at that time such as it was, and you'll see it on Thursday night, was just too sensitive to be showing our viewers immediately. So it was just as a parent, I found it very disturbing, of course, to see what had happened to that little girl.
But she pulled through miraculously. It took quite some time for the people, first of all, for Ballard Ambulance, and then off to Central Washington Hospital, then eventually to Children's Hospital in Seattle. But she survived, and at that point, the seed was planted. We had this incredible footage. What do we do with it? Walk me through that process, Cal.
Okay, I think it was the next day, the fire captains from Douglas County Fire District 2 had caught wind that we had this video, and they asked if they could come in and watch it. We said, of course, you know, and they came in, and they watched it, and it was emotional for them, as it was for us the first day we watched it. But they also were providing some narration on what was going on the video. And there are a lot of things going on there that weren't readily apparent to us. And as they were narrating that, I started thinking, this is really important information to get out, to let people know exactly how well our first responders performed on the situation. And I think it was 2 days later, or the next day, I can't remember, but the firefighters themselves who were involved in the rescue came in to watch the video. And that was a whole different sort of vibe to it. They were silent, there were tears, and it was just really, really compelling and telling of how much they care and how much the training and everything else that was attached to that paid off, and how ultimately they are human beings with emotions, children of their own, and what it meant to them.
Rae'Ana was in the water for, they think, about 15 minutes before they were actually able to pull her out. Would 16 have been too long? I mean, was it just in the nick of time for what you've learned with your interviews?
I think the most interesting part about the whole rescue was that the cold water was actually beneficial to her recovery, and so it helped maintain different body functions, I guess. And so I don't know, I can't say for sure if any longer would have changed anything, but I thought it was extremely interesting that once they all kind of were aware of how the situation was unfolding, they were talking about that they were thankful it was cold water. And the pediatrician at Central had said if it were warm water, it would have been an entire different story. So.
We learned a lot on that very day, because as soon as they pulled Rae'Ana out of the water, and you'll see that incredible footage, it's absolutely stunning. They took her straight to Ballard Ambulance, and we all were waiting for the ambulance to take off. I mean, it's off to the hospital, but they didn't. They sat there for a good 20 or 30 minutes, and we're all sitting around going, how come they're not taking her to the hospital? We assumed the worst. But there was actually something else going on, and this, to me, was the most fascinating part of that, the immediate aftermath, Rae'Ana in the ambulance.
I think watching it, your gut is telling you, why aren't they leaving? Why aren't they going to the hospital? Yeah. But we talk about that in the special too, as to why they wait, and what they were waiting for was getting a pulse back. So. Do
you have any idea, your respect level for these people, the first responders, the ambulance, the firefighters, everybody who arrived on the scene immediately took the action? Obviously, your respect level has gone from high to really high for these people.
Yeah, I think I was already walking into these interviews kind of like pretty nervous, asking them some of these questions, because it's kind of intimidating, just not knowing, you know, their full backstory or why they do what they do, but hearing their stories, and a lot of the interviewing got pretty emotional for some of them, and so Uriah was tagging along with me, and there were definitely moments where we were both like someone would finish a sentence and I just kind of had to take a deep breath and kind of ask the next question and keep going. So.
Were they responsive to your inquiries? This is Kaitlin Hetterscheidt. We have this incredible footage. You've seen it. We'd like to tell the story from all aspects. Were they like, sure, I'd love to talk about it, or were there others who say, I'm not really comfortable with it?
I don't know specifically individually what their thoughts were. I know some of them, especially at the hospital, were a little nervous about talking about it because it was just such a team effort that they felt like maybe I was putting the spotlight on the wrong person. But once I explained that I just wanted to talk to everyone and kind of show everyone's efforts, it was pretty easy. And we were meeting with Douglas County Fire District 2 a couple times before, and Ballard, before we were actually scheduled anything. And so they kind of knew that it was a crazy story and wanted to be able to tell it and show the footage. It was the first time any of them had ever seen a local incident captured on video. So we definitely wanted to work together on that.
It's one thing to talk about what you're going to see on a Thursday night at 7 o'clock, but we have about a 90-second little snippet of the very documentary we're talking about, Saving Rae'Ana. Here's an idea of what you can expect on Thursday night.
We got the call. My swim gear is right behind me. My driver looked at me and said, "Hey, Billy, where do you want your rescue gear? You know, your swim gear that morning." And I said, "I'll just take it in the back seat," you know, and that's not normal. I knew Jacob was getting dressed. I was getting dressed en route. You're planning this stuff through your mind. You're actually playing it through your mind. Like, what's, you know, what are we going into?
DO12, Chelan County has no ICE certified divers. They're checking for outside help.
Once I got on scene and got to that bank, I knew that I was going to go in the water, and I just took on that responsibility. Either I was getting in the water or I was going to be some sort of support. You don't ever know until you actually show up and visually see. Now we've got to react. You know, as soon as I got out of the vehicle, I had almost immediate sight of what I thought was her. You can see that I run down the bank, and the whole time I'm looking out into the water, and what I saw was a small hood, looked like a cone, and it in fact was her hood floating on the water.
That's the first question in any water rescue, like last known, like where's our starting point? And that jacket being that pivotal starting point, that was huge.
We ran into one of the, I believe it's sheriffs, at the shoreline, and he was our initial point of contact at the shore, giving us, you know, his best account for what he believed was the last point seen, and then that was essentially established at that point where we were going in.
Well, there you go. That's just 90 seconds. You can imagine what the other, 58 minutes and 30 seconds are like. I haven't seen that footage since we actually watched it on that very morning. I personally have made the decision not to watch any part of this documentary until I get a chance to see it completed for the first time. Cal, you've seen almost all of it. What are you taking away from this?
I'm taking away from it that it was a whole bunch of people, highly trained, very professional people who gave this girl her life back. You watch the doctors and nurses from Central Washington Hospital. They were preparing for this girl as soon as they heard the call on the police scanner. They were setting up to receive this girl, and once she got there, they spent a real long time on her, trying to get her to where they could transport her to Seattle Children's Hospital. And they were doing this in shifts of people performing the CPR on her. And you listen to them and you think there was desperation to get her back, but it wasn't desperation. It was what they do. And yet they talk on a personal level, again, about having kids of their own and how it's just a little different when it's a little girl like this. It's just some incredible storytelling, and Kat did a great job with it, I gotta say. I mean, it transitions really well, it flows, it's compelling, it's just really good television, and it tells a very important story.
You have the footage, and then you had to sit down and tell the story built around the footage. Talk me through that creative process.
It was a big one. I think our first meeting, Cal kind of looked at me and was like, I think, how about in 2 weeks we can have something to put on the air? And I just wanted to cry. I think in that
was
moment.
in early March, I might add.
Yeah, but working with that kind of PTZ footage is what I always call it, the PTZ footage. But working with that really helped me set the framework and the timing and the pace of it. And then I was able to compile these interviews and plug them in as we go, and then just flow from there. It was really kind of easy to do it chronologically and kind of intertwine all these different stories into there. So it was definitely an interesting process.
Have you enjoyed the process?
Yeah.
You're a creative person, and Rae'Ana pulled through, and she's going to live a long and fruitful life. So that probably made things a little bit easier, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. If it weren't a positive ending, I think it would have been a pretty dark project for me to be working on. There were definitely days where I'm working on a section that is just so emotional and heavy, so that, you know, someone would come up and tap me on the shoulder and I'd be like, what? Like, you get so sucked into it when you're working on it. But yeah, it was, it definitely made a huge difference that it was a positive ending.
Early on in the creative process, Kat interviewed in one big setting a lot of the people involved in the first responders at the Douglas County Fire District 2 headquarters in East Wenatchee. And when she and Uriah came back, I'll never forget when you walked in the door in the newsroom, because you were emotionally spent. You were just completely out of it from an emotional standpoint, and all you had to do was sit there and ask questions. I can imagine what these ladies and gentlemen that you were talking to went through.
Yeah, it was the first interview that I had done on this project, and even just preparing for it, I just remember being so nervous. And I had sat down and prepared as much as I could, and I'd seen that that rescue footage so many times at that point, and just loading up the van and going over there, I just was like, I have no idea how this interview is going to go, or if they even want to be sitting down and interviewing with me. But as soon as we sat down and really started talking, they were just so open, and I was just so thankful that they were really receptive to my questions, and were taking the time to really talk about their stories and share their emotions, because that's a big part of it. It was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime incident for some of these guys. So to be able to sit down and answer a question and shed a tear or two and be on camera was big for some of them, and it definitely made me pretty tired by the end of the interview. It was a lot, yeah.
This is not a one-person operation. Yeah, Kat is basically spearheading most of this with input from other people, Cal specifically as our news director, but there were two other significant members of our television family that played a major role in putting this thing together. I know you want to talk about them.
Yeah, Uriah Darby, he's a producer here. He helps with the evening news too. He came out with me on every shoot that I had for the interviews, and I called him my muscle when I showed up, because he was lugging all these bags in, and he's so tall. He was setting up all the lights, and really did a great job making these interviews look as good as we could. And Tucker Wagner, another producer who actually captured the PTZ footage, he has been kind of my sounding board, literally with the music, and helping me with sequencing and editing, because it's so much to sit down for 8 hours and lay it out, and by the end of the day, I'm just like, I have no idea if this is a good sequence or not. So I would just send him what I did for the day, and he would sit down and make notes and watch it and let me know what he was thinking, and then he compiled all the music for it too, which made a huge difference. It was great.
It's fun collaborating with smart and dedicated people, isn't it, Cal?
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, isn't it?
Just sit back, watch, and be amazed, and then try to take as much credit as you can. Always been my approach. But I think a part of the story that I think is important is how the community rallied around this girl. When we were posting updates with whatever information we could get at the time about the girl and how she was doing and everything, our social media, our Facebook page, would routinely receive hundreds and hundreds of hearts, comments, mostly prayers. There was a lot of prayer going on for this little girl as she was recovering. And the community had a fundraiser for her over at Blue Spoon. There were 2 different fundraisers online for her, and our community really rallied around this girl and her family. It was heartwarming in that regard as well.
Saving Rae'Ana, it's been a long, long process with Kat leading the way, and again, thanks to Tucker, Uriah, and Cal for pitching in for their ideas. And finally, Thursday night at 7 o'clock, you can watch it here on the NCW Life channel. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to show people the story and really kind of show them the local people who work so hard to save this little girl's life, and really kind of congratulate the community too, and thank them for stepping up for the family and making a huge difference. It's really definitely an interesting story, so I'm ready to show it off.
I can't wait to see it. It's not one big story, it's a bunch of little stories that became one big story. It really is, and I can't wait for it. I'm emotional talking about it right now. Saving Rae'Ana, Thursday night at 7 o'clock is the premiere. It'll be airing numerous times throughout the course of the next few weeks, and then we'll make it available for you to watch on our website. But we ask you please to tune in Thursday night at 7 o'clock for Saving Rae'Ana. You will not regret it. Cal, Kat, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. We'll be right back. Family roles change with time. You may find yourself being an unpaid caregiver to a loved one. Caregiving can be rewarding, but also stressful. Taking care of yourself is vital. Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington has low or no cost services for unpaid caregivers, such as in-home support, care supplies, and counseling. Connect in your local area by calling Aging and Adult Care at 800-572-4459 and mention you're interested in caregiver support.
When you visit Harmony Meadows for tennis or their activity center, you need to drop by the Love All Cafe. Drink in a locally roasted Blue Star espresso or enjoy one of their all-natural smoothies. Show your guests the breathtaking mountains and surrounding orchards while enjoying a delightful and healthy lunch. Love All Cafe features varied noshes as well as microbrews and an excellent selection of wines. The Love All Cafe, located at Harmony Meadows in the Chelan Valley, just outside Manson.
Choose the pros, Alignment Pros. When your vehicle needs brakes, shocks, struts, or alignment, choose the experts in their field. Alignment Pros and Express Lube with a 5-star rating. The work they perform on your vehicle is as impeccable as their shop. With state-of-the-art equipment, Alignment Pros can handle all large or small vehicles, specialty cars, lifted or lowered. Alignment Pros does them all. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube in East Wenatchee.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
There's a little girl fell in the lake in Block Island.
And how old is she?
I don't know. It's just a little girl with her brother.
And they're saying that they can't get to her?
Yeah.
And welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. One more final note on Saving Rae'Ana. By the way, we're going to re-air that interview on Thursday in case you missed any part of it and you want to see it again. It will be shown commercial-free, thanks to our sponsors for making that happen. All right, let's show you the weather forecast one more time. From the National Weather Service, the big story is going to be the wind. Breezy today, downright windy from tonight all the way through Thursday. A couple of things are going on right now. The jet stream is positioned directly over Washington, and that's what we got, a red flag warning. The combination is always the same thing for red flag warnings. You need low relative humidities, and it's going to be anywhere between 17 to 25% as far as the relative humidity is concerned, and then strong winds. And yeah, it's going to be very windy. We could see wind gusts, the occasional rogue wind gust on Wednesday, tomorrow, up to 45 miles an hour. We got a combination of the jet stream right over Washington State, which is sucking in all that air in, and then we have a low pressure system that's dropping down from Canada, which makes the gradient really, really tight, which means strong winds. High today of 86, wind out of the west about 15 to 22 miles an hour. The red flag warning goes from 2 o'clock this afternoon till 9 o'clock tomorrow night. That's a long period of time for a red flag warning. The wind will be with us from today all the way through Thursday before it finally dies down. Strongest winds Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday evening. That's where we could see those gusts possible of up to 45 miles an hour. A red flag warning is not a good thing to have. So any fire that gets going is going to just take right off, and it doesn't take a lot of fuels to get going when you have winds that strong. It could just really fly off. And look at how cold it's going to get. We're going from well above normal. 86 is about 6-7 degrees above normal to 75, which is below normal, and that's going to happen Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be done with the winds by Thursday afternoon, and then a good weekend heading your way Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Don't forget Friday, the first day of summer. Rob Tidd will be my guest tomorrow from the Let's Have a Blast 4th of July committee, and provided the show wasn't canceled, we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.